Kyle Tucker changes the balance of power by landing in Los Angeles and the ripple effects hitting every front office in baseball. The Astros and Red Sox chatter is heating up with Isaac Paredes at the center. And with Framber Valdez still inside, the standoff between elite pitching and cautious market is becoming the story of the offseason. This is Back to the Bullpen.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat it low in the way you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
That's right, and we are taking it back to the bullpen like we do every week with my partner in crime here, Mike Stanton, the old 2-9er. Mike, you know what? We haven't said it in a while, but where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, there's only one place. I don't know who's running this. Oh, yeah, there it is down there. It's Mike Stanton 29. There's only one place that's going to be on X. Whoever's putting this show together has swung and missed yet again. Yeah, no, it's on X. Mike Stanton 29. That's the only place you can find me.
Yeah, that's right, man. We are experiencing growth. We are experiencing nominations. We've yet to hear. It'll be announced. It'll be announced January 26th. So can't wait to hear if we actually won an award. I've never been up for a Podcast of the Year award. I was up for Teacher of the Year 2 years in a row.
Tell everyone about the nomination, because I don't think everybody knows about the nomination.
So here's the deal. We have been nominated for the 14th annual Texas Revolutionary Film Festival, a new category, Podcast of the Year. And it's not just sports podcasts. We got a couple different podcasts in there mixed in, different topics. And, we were nominated alongside the guys at Apollo, with their Beyond the Diamond show. And then you had Crush City Territory with Chandler Rome and Tyler Stafford. And, there were some others. So it's kind of some cool company to be in. Now, 2 different times in my educational career, Mike, I was runner-up for Teacher of the Year 2 years in a row.
First loser. That stinks.
Yeah, I was not Tarek Skubal, unfortunately.
I have been there. I've been there a few times myself.
Hey, man, you know what? But what's cool is we're nominated, so we can't wait until the 26th will be announced. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, now,
listen, it's nice just to be recognized, for people that don't know our story about how this all came about. I went on Locked on Astros. Yeah. And I ran into Brett just outside the press box at then Minute Maid Park, now Daikin Park. And he goes, "Hey, would you mind coming on our podcast?" I said, "Sure." And I don't know if this was a good thing or a bad thing. That's a good thing. I gave him my phone number. We reached out. We came on, and then we just kind of hit it off. Said, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" And here we go. Here we are, back to the bullpen.
Yeah, definitely. And what's cool is this will be our 3rd season. This will be our 3rd opening day.
That is crazy.
It seems like just yesterday, Mike. Just yesterday.
It's only been 3 years. It hasn't been a decade.
So, Mike, I was a little bit in my feels, right before we get started, as the kids would say. Steven Wilson Jr. is one of my favorite artists, an amazing guitar player out of Texas, and he has a song called 1994. Now, I graduated high school in 1993, but everything that song talks about, I was like, it took me straight back to high school. So, man, I've been a little bit nostalgic tonight. I figured I'd sport the USA cap.
There it is.
Seeing that. And we'll talk about this on a future.
Coming up.
That's right, man. I think in a future show, we need to talk about the USA kind of going in, I think seems to be the odds-on favorite because all of their stars are playing. I mean, everybody from Alex Bregman to Tarek Skubal. I mean, it's going to be a who's who among baseball players when USA.
And we had that a couple of years ago when the USA team actually won the World Baseball Classic, and that was it was pretty cool to see. You go back to the mid '90s when we had the Dream Team basketball in the Olympics,
Right?
You had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and all the big time NBA players, and of course they just run the gauntlet and win the gold. So this is kind of the baseball version because baseball, Major League Baseball will never be in the Olympics, and that's kind of why. Part of the reason why Major League Baseball came up with this World Baseball Classic was because, number one, you're always trying to promote the sport. And number two, you just can't take time off in the middle of a summer, in the middle of a championship season to go represent your country. So pretty cool that they've been able to come up with this. They do it the same way every 4 years. You don't want to do it too often because it is hard on the players. They do have to ramp up early. They do everything they can to get the repetitions that they need to get ready for the regular season, but it's not a perfect process. There are bumps and along the way, but it is pretty fun to watch. Whatever team you are rooting for. A lot of the Latin American countries, you get from Japan, you get from Korea. I mean, it's really fun to see how all this comes about. And
you find out where players are actually from. You're like, I didn't know they were from the Netherlands. I didn't know they were.
They're not actually from. It's like what was the name of that
heritage?
The 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, it's
if you can show that
my mom is from this country or whatever, right? But
right.
Well, Mike, one of the hot topics in baseball, and you and I talked about it last time we were together, is the Kyle Tucker 4-year, $240 million contract, $60 million a year. Not only are Astros fans polarized about this, but I think teams, fan bases across the league are all just a little bit baffled. You have people crying foul, people saying the rich keep getting richer. I mean, if you look at what the Dodgers start with just in revenue alone, TV revenue alone, 300 plus million on, and just they seem to have stacks on stacks on stacks when it comes to money. But then again, the Mets go out there and drop a 120 piece on freaking Bo Bichette, and my question to you is, and I know we touched on this last time, is this as bad for baseball as people are making it out to be? Because one of the premises is this is going to be why the lockout comes and last a long time, all because of what the Dodgers have done.
No, I do not think this is bad for baseball, and we'll get to the potential work stoppage later in the year when it becomes more prevalent. Right now, it's not really prevalent. I don't think this is a bad thing, and the reason I don't, what I said in our last podcast is I think this is actually a good thing, because you know what? You need a villain in Major League Baseball. You need an evil empire. You need bad guys. And that's exactly what the Dodgers have done. They have put a target on their back to say that, okay, we are the best. We're the best in Major League Baseball. But I also told you what one of the dirty words in Major League Baseball is, and it's expectations. They have one goal and they have one situation that they meet the expectations. That's win the World Series. By the way, by getting this and having this payroll and having this superstar lineup, does this guarantee them any wins? It does not. They still have to get on the field. They still have to play. They still have questions in their pitching staff. So, it's great to have all these guys. And, you don't see very many teams in Major League Baseball beat teams into submission on a nightly basis. And So listen, they're spending the money. I heard something on the radio today. People were talking, and I want to say the broadcaster kind of misspoke a little bit, said, all teams can do this. Well, all teams can't do what the Dodgers are doing, but all teams have money to spend. I think that was the point. Not that they can literally go out and spend, just tens of millions of dollars across the board. But the whole situation is every owner in Major League Baseball has the financial wherewithal to bring in players. Now, at what level? Everybody's different. Okay. But everybody has a business model, and that's where you have the difference. Yes, there's a difference in the bottom line in the checkbook, but the business model is really what drives this. The Tampa Bay Rays have competed in the American League East, the beast from the East, year in and year out since they started in the mid 90s. And they do it really, compared to the Yankees, compared to the Red Sox, even compared to the Blue Jays. They do it on a nickel and dime basis. They have a very small fraction of a budget that these other teams do, but they still figure out a way to do it. So it's, do you have to do things a little bit different? Do you have to be a little bit more creative? Sure. But it can be done, and there is money to be spent.
Yeah, there is money to be spent, and there are other clubs like the Mets, like the Blue Jays. I think the Phillies do a good job. I mean, the Astros are no slouch spending team. I get sick to my stomach to hear people say, "Well, Jim Crane is cheap," and I'm like, he's not cheap, man.
No,
he's actually the best owner in Houston Astros history, the only owner that's been able to bring not one but 2 World Series.
And
now,
it's not.
I will ask this, and this is kind of a caveat off of just what I'm thinking when people talk about ruining baseball. And I'm not saying what I'm about to mention is going to ruin baseball, but at some point, the salaries will this bring into focus a discussion about a salary cap? Because after 60 million, how much are you paying a guy? 100 million a year? You know what I'm saying? Like, to what extent does that snowball stop rolling down the hill?
Okay. So I had, I don't want to say displeasure of going through the work stoppage in 1994. Okay. And that was the number one thing that was on the table. Was the owners wanted a hard salary cap. The owners wanted the players to okay the idea that we were going to control their spending. And that was something that, well, how it worked out. There's no way. There's not going to be a salary cap in baseball, in my opinion. What people need to understand is, and this is where the narrative gets twisted. The portion of the pie that the players have gotten, even with the crazy numbers that we've had, has dwindled over the last several decades. At one point in the 90s, and these aren't hard numbers, okay? I'm just trying to prove a point. Was somewhere about 24% of the full revenue of what Major League Baseball was making. About 24% of that went to the players. Well, the last I heard, now this was a few years ago, the last I heard it was down to like 19%. Now, what that shows exactly how much money Major League Baseball has in it. Okay. And I'm an optimist in these situations since I've been through it so many times. I was involved with the first time that there was not a work stoppage. That was in, I think, 2002. Went right down to the wire, which, negotiations always do. And there was not a work stoppage, and there hasn't been a work stoppage since. So I'm going to be the optimist in the room and say that I think they work it out. I think there's too much money. I think there's too many livelihoods on the table here to ruin the sport, because we almost lost the sport in 1994. There is no doubt in my mind we almost lost it. And, that's a generation or two ago, but it's still, that is still a big talking point, what would happen if it does. So I'm going to say that cooler, calmer heads prevail, and they figure something out. But a salary cap is not going to be one of them.
I think it was it 51 million? We're watching Game 7 of the World Series this year. Yeah. So, baseball is not losing in popularity. I do think speeding the game up a little bit has really helped that. But I do want to tackle one more thing before we get to these Red Sox Astros rumors. Do you think the days are almost gone of players signing 10 to 14-year deals? And do you think players and agents are more going for the short-term deals, higher AAV with opt-outs? Is that going to be a trend and become the norm, or does the pendulum swing back to where you're offering 7 to 10-year deals?
Every situation is different. And we have seen a trend. There's no doubt that we've seen the AAVs go up and the number of years go down. So players still get paid. And that's the bottom line. One of the things that all teams are trying to do, all businesses are trying to do, it doesn't matter what the industry is to reduce the long-term exposure on the books. And that's what a deal like Juan Soto, was it like a 13-year deal? I mean, my goodness, that's a long time to have that kind of money on the books. So what would they rather do? They'd rather do a Kyle Tucker deal. Let's give him $60 million for just a few years. So it really hurts. It really stinks for a few years, but we get out from underneath it much, much sooner. And then the other trend is all the deferrals, the deferrals and the opt-outs.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember when we first heard the contract of Ohtani and all the deferrals, but Ohtani clearly said, I did that because I want the Dodgers to not be hampered by me,
right,
and to sign other players. And that's nice of you, Shohei, to forego receiving 600 and something million 10 years from now.
But you know what? It had never been about the money for Shohei. I mean, when he came over, because he didn't spend 10 years in Japan, in the professional baseball league over there, I think it's the Nippon Baseball League. He did not get to come over here as an unrestricted free agent. He came over here as a restricted free agent, and he didn't make the money that, his teammate Yamamoto made. He didn't make, any of the other big Japanese players that have come over. He didn't get to make that money. He got paid like a regular minor leaguer, and then he came when we made the big leagues. It was as a regular rookie,
Right.
So it had never been about the money. But you did know one thing: Shohei wanted to come over here because he knew this was the best baseball, and he wanted to see how he measured up. Measured up pretty good. And then he also wanted to win. I mean, that's and can you fault it? To tell you the truth, that's really the only thing that matters in a teammate is he going to do anything he can to help the team win? And Shohei has done that, including taking a lesser salary for the next 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane. Now, something a little less insane, a little bit more realistic is the discussion and the smoke that we see that's coming from, trade rumors or trade talks, I should say.
Yeah.
Rumors of a trade that might go down that I've been told could happen by the end of this next week, that Isaac Paredes gets traded to the Red Sox. Jarren Duran from the Red Sox has been mentioned. Other names, there would be other major league pieces. You would probably have to throw in a Spencer Arrighetti. You would probably have to throw in a Bryce Matthews. The Red Sox could throw in an upside down contract of Jordan Hicks. They could throw in Connor Wong. The Astros need a backup catcher. The Red Sox have been looking for another backup catcher. We know that because they checked in with JT Realmuto. They tried to sign Victor Caratini, who went with the Twins. So Connor Wong could clearly be on the trading block. He's a Houston kid, Pearland High School alum, U of H alum, but pop time is sick. So my question to you is, Mike, before we start this conversation, is Isaac Paredes in the Astros at an advantage if he stays in Houston, or do they stand in a better place to trade him mainly because of the personnel logjam they have in the infield?
Well, I mean, that's the only reason why you're considering it. I mean,
Right.
you look at who he was offensively last year through the first half. He was probably their best player.
Exactly.
Jordan was hurt. Altuve got off to a hot start and then kind of petered out. So he was very consistent, but then he ended up getting injured. So I think that's the only reason you're really considering this is because of the logjam. But I also think that Dana Brown's doing exactly what he needs to do. We just saw last week them have a whole bunch of international signings trying to rebuild that minor league system. And so what I think is you have to make sure that you don't show your whole hand when you're making these negotiations. You don't want the Red Sox or anybody you're negotiating with to know that, God, you really need to trade somebody. I mean, now listen, the Red Sox can look at the Astros roster and say there's a logjam, but you don't know how serious it is. And so you're always got the poker face on in these negotiations. And people need to understand, even if it does seem like it is a magical fit with Team A and Team B to get a trade together, these are very, very complex negotiations. I mean, we just saw a 3-team trade, not big players, but a 3-team trade just a couple days ago, and those are 10 times more complex than a 2-team trade. So it's just not that easy to pull off these trades. But the one thing that Dana has said is, listen, we're not giving him away. We're going to have to get something that we need in return. And I actually like to call these the potential of a big league trade, because a lot of times we don't have big league trades. And what I mean by big league trade, it is major league player for major league player. That's, both teams, it hurts. Both teams, it makes better. Those are like old school Major League Baseball trades. But, you throw in prospects, you throw in bad contracts, you throw in all these other things. And all that does is just make the complexity go through the roof.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're talking about bringing Jarren Duran in for the Astros, it makes the conversation with Yordan Alvarez a little bit easier. Hey, Yordan, you got a left fielder. We want you DHing. We got Jarren Duran in the left field. And now the other question is, you have kind of a surplus of outfielders. So does that mean Zach Cole is in there? Because to me, Zach Cole is really the only piece that would be desirable for the Astros to trade, because Jesus Sanchez, I don't think they're going to take a 6.8. Cam Smith, you're not going to trade him away. He is a guy that I think would likely get a contract extension from the Astros early if they can get to him before Boris or the other get to him. And then Jake Myers, you're not trading him because they don't need help in center field in Boston. They clearly need a third baseman. Marcelo Myers is not the guy that you want to have to lean on at third base, although he does have some upside, But Isaac Paredes, I think the only drawback for the Red Sox is he going to stay healthy? Is he going to deal with these injuries? How's his hamstring? But like you said, major league pieces for major league pieces. If you throw in a Brian Bello, you're going to have to throw in a Spencer Arrighetti. You know what I'm saying? If you throw in this major league guy, you have to throw in that major league guy. So, only time will tell.
What makes this even more difficult is you have two teams that are seemingly try to win. Right. If you have one team that knows that they are really not in the division to win the division, now all of a sudden you start talking about minor league prospects, and actually, in a way, that makes things a little bit easier. Now, there's still plenty of hurdles that they have to cross in those situations. But when you're talking about two teams in the Red Sox and the Astros, and both, the Red Sox are trying to reel in the Yankees and the Blue Jays, and the Astros, for the first time in a decade, didn't win the division and want to get back on top. Now, all of a sudden, that's where dealing off of the major league roster for major league players, I love it. I think that's how trades are really supposed to be, but we just don't get that very often because of everyone's value of prospects.
Exactly. No, and that's a thing. if it is a prospect, Mike, it's going to be someone like a Bryce Matthews, who's your top prospect. I still have a hard time believing that Dana Brown will trade him. I feel like because he's homegrown, because he was one of his first picks, his first round pick. He was in the Astros RBI Academy. I mean, there are a lot of reasons. But then again, at the end of the day, Mike, feelings don't rule the day in baseball business, right?
You must have read my eyes. What I was saying.
I did. Those
are all valid points, which means absolutely nothing. Because ultimately, what is Dana Brown's job? His job is to build a major league team to win the American League West and to go on and win a World Series. It's not hold on to your prospects. It's not, all the feel good stories, they're all fun for you and I to talk about, but that doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot when you get into a major league season and you're trying to win games.
That's true. I want to move on to our third segment. Before I do, want to make sure that y'all check out Ram Shirts. We got our sweet Back to the Bullpen t-shirts. You guys can grab one. Just go to ramshirts.com. You can get this shirt. You can get a whole slew of things. If your business needs promotional items, I mean, I'm sure you want a cup made with your name on it, with your company name on it. You can get all kinds of stuff, coasters galore, whatever you want for your business promotion. Go to ramshirts.com. Tell Mark that Mike and Brett from Back to the Bullpen sent you. Now, to Framber, okay? It's not you, Framber. It's me.
Yeah.
Who's holding out? Who
are the only people that say that? When somebody, if there's a breakup and we say, yes, Brett,
it's not you, it's me.
It's not you, it's me. I'm having issues. What do you really mean? It's not me, it's you.
Yeah,
that's what it really means.
Opposite. I mean, but Mike, this is a guy that's durable. This is a guy that 180 plus innings every year, has not had an injury history. Now, he does have the recent crossing of Salazar, and we have seen the meltdowns. We've seen good Framber versus bad Framber. He has closed out a World Series in Game 6. He has been a part of a no-hitter. So he's got a lot of highs and lows. So if you were to guess, if you were to be a betting man, would you say clubs just aren't touching what he's asking for? Or do you think people are just kind of holding off until, is the market holding on to itself?
Well, I think the way teams look at durable pitchers is different than, let's say, 25 years ago. 25 years ago, and I'm not, listen, I don't want to sound like Framber is not coveted. Like he absolutely is. And we'll get to that in just a second. But what it is they look at what he's done, and as great as the numbers have been and as durable as he has been, what are they really saying? Okay, when is it going to happen? When is he going to break down? He's thrown all these innings. He's had all this pressure on him. He's got all the strikeouts and all the big numbers. And how long is it going to last? Is he going to break down? I think that Framber has a chance of being one of the few guys that doesn't break down, or at least doesn't do it for quite a while yet. And I think that, so we keep looking at the date. Today is what, January 18th?
Yes.
We go, oh my gosh, spring training is less than a month away. The pitchers and catchers are February 11th. But how long has this market really been moving? It's only been moving for about 10 days.
Yeah, you're right.
So, one of the things I've been saying the whole time is everybody has a market. You just don't know when that market is going to materialize. And I think that it is Framber's turn now. With Ranger Suarez out, and you saw the numbers that he got, I think that that Framber starts there when he gets his deal. He's going to get paid. He's going to pitch somewhere. It is probably a little frustrating for him and his agent that something hasn't materialized already. But hey, that doesn't matter. It's all about what's in front of you. So I would expect we're going to start hearing more about Framber here in the next week or so, and from there, a deal will get cut.
Yeah, exactly. I still think I'm coming off of the idea of him going to Baltimore, and I'm more in the camp as I look at
Baltimore. The rumor right now is Baltimore is Justin Verlander.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Justin Verlander to Baltimore. He's probably called Papa Crane and said, "Crane, Jimmy, my man."
I'm still a big component. I would love to get him back here in Houston.
No, definitely. But I can see Framber going to the Mets. I can see Framber going to San Francisco. I mean, why would he be a good fit in Arizona? I mean, Merrill Kelly, Ryan Nelson, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brian Fatt, and then Michael Sikora. I mean, those guys, I mean, there are some places. The Padres, I'm hearing, are showing interest.
I don't think that now, JV said here right here in Houston, he said he wanted to pitch till he's 35. Well, I think he's going to be 45, excuse
45,
me.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to turn 43 this year. So he's getting close, but I don't think he just picks just anywhere. I was a little surprised when he picked San Francisco. I think that he is probably feeling pretty good about where he is in his career. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I don't think it's just anywhere. He's going to pick someplace that he at least has at least an outside chance of winning. That's why I said I felt like San Francisco, that was a little bit surprising to me. But the way he pitched in the second half, his last 13 starts had an ERA of like 2.6. I mean, really pitched well. I think that, there's going to be enough teams out there that he's going to be able to pick and choose and find a good situation for him to possibly make the playoffs again.
Yeah, exactly. And when you look at that lineup top to bottom, look, the Orioles' Achilles heel is playing in the playoffs. It's not the regular season. They're great during the regular season. They just have laid absolute goose eggs in the playoffs, but they've got Jackson Holiday, Jordan Westburg.
Kind of like our Texans, huh?
Oh, God. Oh, what?
Am I lying? Am I lying?
Oh, man.
0-7.
I saw a picture of someone put Whoopi Goldberg with the Texans bandana and it said playoff CJ Stroud. It was pretty bad. People are pretty down on that guy. I'm feeling for Stroud, but man, Alonzo, Rushman, Ward, Dylan Beavers, Colton Cowser, Samuel, Basillo, these guys, this lineup, and then you've got Ron Mountcastle, you got some others, but they don't have a bad rotation either.
Well, the problem the Orioles are going to have, and they did not have a great season last year, is that you are playing in with the American League champions, the Blue Jays. You're playing with the Yankees. You're playing with the Red Sox. I mean, even we talked about the Tampa Bay Rays, earlier in this podcast about how they seemingly are always involved, at least in the race. That makes it tough, man. That's why it's called the Beast from the East.
Yeah. No, exactly. One of the things that I think is interesting is when, and I want to just wrap it up on this, is when ballparks change their configuration. I don't know if you saw, but Kauffman Stadium is moving their right and center field fences in about 30 or 40 feet because they're adding seats. I think they want Bobby Witt to hit a few more home runs, Mike.
Well, the problem with moving your and we were just talking about Baltimore, Camden Yard, they've done that a couple times. They've redirected the plate a couple degrees here or there, move the fences in, move the fences out, move the fences in again, whatever. Both teams get to play.
Yeah.
And Kansas City forever, especially you go back in the day when it was turf, that was a big ballpark. I mean, it took a lot to get the ball out of there. And that's fine. I mean, if they want to move it in, add some seats. I can remember, I'm so old that I can remember before there were any seats back there, that all center field was at Kauffman Stadium was the fountains. I mean, I used to love to go out and play catch with at the time it was a left fielder, because our bullpen, the visiting bullpen's in left field, to watch the fountains, to watch the water back and forth.
So let me ask you this before we go. You pitched in the Astrodome, correct?
I did.
What was that like, pitching in the Astrodome? Were you just like, okay, cool, I'm going to throw it. They're going to hit a pop fly? I mean,
you could do that. It was a big ballpark, and the ball didn't travel. That was the key. There's plenty of big ballparks, but it's, what does the air do? Fulton County Stadium, which was where I started in Atlanta, was actually called the launching pad. Now, it wasn't because it was a small stadium. It was called the launching pad first because at the time, this is prior to Colorado, it was the highest elevation stadium in Major League Baseball.
Really?
And second, the ball flew like crazy because how hot it was in Atlanta. So, it's not just about the dimensions of the ballpark. It's also about, how the ball flies.
Definitely. And we have a request. We'll have to take it next time. Someone says, can you show some pictures of Mike on the mound and how intimidating it was to face him back in the day?
Look at that. This intimidating? No way.
Dude, that picture that I had on like 2 shows ago, like, dude, your forearms, you were yoked, man.
What are you saying? I'm not now? Is that what you're saying? I'm not now?
I'm not. I'm
just
saying.
Are you trying to get me to show the mad dad eyebrows?
Hey, man, look, when it comes to baseball, I'm in a lot worse shape than Apollo Creed was in retirement. So, but it's all good. Well, hey, this has been a great session. Going back to the bullpen. Look, man, we had over 300 plus watching us live. Absolutely love it. We can't tell you what's going to happen, but we promise you within a week. I promise you within a week, we will be able to give you the official word.
We've got some information.
Yeah. I'm excited. And, hey, stay tuned. January 26th, the big announcement. We're excited to find out if we won the podcast of the year.
We're the winners or if we're the first loser.
There you go. Well, hey, you know what? For myself, everybody here at Back to the Bullpen, this has been great. A great bullpen session as always. Y'all have a good one. And thank y'all for tuning in, because nobody goes back to the bullpen like Mike and Brett.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, hit it low in the way you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't